Right, so today we're going to talk about, firstly, about seedling infection types and using that information in pathotype classification. And then secondly, I will be showing some pictures and some background on adult plants and phenotyping in the field and in the greenhouse. So for the first lecture, we will just start with an outline to introduce you to the different infection types of wheat stem rust, wheat leaf rust, as well as wheat stripe rust or yellow rust. And then we will go through certain examples using specifically the North American system. For the yellow rust example we will use the European classification system just to give you an idea of what a 6E16 actually means. This is an interactive exercise, so I will be showing pictures and I will asking your response. How would you rate this? High or low? Resistant or susceptible or compatible or incompatible? I don't think we should get too hung up on whether it's a 2 double minus CN or whether it's 2 or a 3 or a 3 minus. As long as we can, for this exercise, pick a high or a low, because that is the classification we use in getting to a race number. So to start off with the stem rust examples, and there are many pictures in the literature, on the internet, and in different presentations. This is one from my experience, and you can see it moves from a 0 or a 0 fleck, an almost immune phenotype, to the 4, the very large diamond-shaped pustules on the right, and on the far right we have the mixed infection type, what is called what? Robert explained this in a previous lecture. X, yeah. So we go from complete resistance to susceptibility, the X, and then generally this group would be the low infection types. Thank you. The red arrow indicates the susceptible one, the 4. If you use the 0 to 4 scale, there are also many other scales. You can use the 0 to 9 or your own system if you wish, as long as you are consistent. And then we have the 3 category, which could be a 3 minus, 3 double minus, or a 3 double plus. You can see they're fairly susceptible, but they're smaller than the 4. And then we have to decide whether they're high or low. Now, I think according to the textbook, or theoretically, a 3 should be viewed low, but in my system, I will score these together with the high infection type. And just some of the 0 to 4 scale values at the bottom to give you an indication. But those are not important. I think the important one for us this morning is to decide whether these are high or low. Leaf rust, very similar, although the pustules are much smaller. Again, starting from almost immunity on the left, and the 4, or the susceptible one, on the right. In this slide, I do not have an X, but you also get the X for the Puccinia triticina system. Low infection types, I think, more clearly to define. In this particular slide, I would write all of them low except the 4 on the right. And then again, some of the 0 to 4 scale values.
So low infection type means some host resistance.
Some host resistance, a form of incompatibility between pathogen and host. And based on the gene for gene system that Robert explained to us the other day. Just a few examples from the leaf rust system. So this is your susceptible phenotype. That would be your control. What would you call that one? Low. Yeah, it's fairly low. It's got necrotic, chlorotic flecks, very small pustules in certain places. And then we get these two. How would you rate them? Low? I think you're right. They look susceptible, and if you didn't have good checks, you would have probably rated those as susceptible if you're not well experienced in the system or you didn't have the correct entries in your set. These are from flag leaves. Again, it's wheat leaf rust, Puccinia triticina. There's your control, susceptible. And those three, I think quite clearly, they're low. This is the response of LR12, LR13, and LR22A. All three of them are adult plant resistance genes, but single major genes for adult plant resistance. As far as I know, this one has not been conquered. Robert? 22A, no virulence for that, as far as I know.
And with your experience, you can actually identify which gene that as a...
I wouldn't be able to distinguish between those two if I didn't know, because they've got very similar reactions. But usually the LR13 is more an XE type, whereas 12 would be a flag 1C or something. But I wouldn't put my money on it, I think.
So we really don't need a molecular marker, we have Zach.